Hi again then guys, and welcome to yet another Rivals match on Gran Turismo Sport, and this particular Rivals match is part 2 of a rivalry which we already started. Part 1 was covering the road-going versions of these two cars, and now we're covering the racing versions of these two cars. They're both very iconic vehicles, and the rivalry between them is one of the best known rivalries in all of motorsport and in all of cardom in general. The Mitsubishi Evo versus the Subaru Impreza. Now though, we're focusing on, as I said, the racing side of things, with two brand new racing versions of these cars which have debuted on Gran Turismo Sport. The Mitsubishi Evo 10 race car and the Subaru WRX Impreza race car, both in the Group 3 class, both even very similar to look at. But how do they compare? Well, as we always do, we'll break each car down individually, then we'll compare both of them in a top trump style on paper battle. First up then we have the Mitsubishi Evo. Now of the two, this is a car which we've had probably the closest version to on Gran Turismo 6. There are some Evo race cars already on there. You've got the Evo touring car, the Evo 10 rally car, so you can at least have some kind of idea of what this car could be like. Now both of these vehicles are now rear-wheel drive instead of all-wheel drive, and that does make a significant difference to both vehicles. That's one of the biggest advantages that they have compared to the other race cars of Gran Turismo. The Impreza touring car, for instance, was a force to be reckoned with, and that was one of the reasons why. Now that that is gone, will they still be as good? Well, the whole point, of course, of the Group 3 class is to have a levelling factor between the vehicles, and you can definitely feel that at play in both of these cars. As far as the Evo goes, I would say it's probably the slipperier of the two. Both cars are surprisingly tail happy, which might disappoint some of the fans, but that's not too surprising given that both cars have well over 500 horsepower now going through just the rear wheels. Now interestingly, some aspects of the car's spec is exactly the same. The power, for instance, on both vehicles is 553 horsepower. The torque advantage, though, does go to the Mitsubishi. The weight advantage, on the other hand, is in favour of the Impreza. Now, as far as the Evo goes overall, I would say that this car is, in a similar way to the Subaru, funnily enough, a significant step away to what fans will probably be expecting from it. I think some people may be a bit disappointed with the difference that the rear-wheel drive makes. It certainly doesn't feel as dominating as it would have been on Gran Turismo 6 with all-wheel drive, but that's the whole point, of course, of the Group 3 class. Overall, it's definitely a good enough car to give you victories, and so that, of course, brings us next to the Subaru. Well, by definition, obviously, both cars have to be capable of at least a chance of winning, otherwise they wouldn't be in the Group 3 category at all, and that goes for any of the categories really on any racing game, not just Gran Turismo Sport. As far as the Subaru goes, though, for me personally, at least, and I'm sure there are some people who would disagree, the Impreza feels, strangely enough, more at home with rear-wheel drive than the Evo does. The Evo feels very much like a fish out of water, whereas the Impreza copes, as I said, at least for me and my driving style, a little bit better. Now that being said, it would definitely be much more of a dominating force with that all-wheel drive, and it's not like every car has rear-wheel drive in the Group 3 class, so it is an interesting and slightly strange choice for them to do that to these two vehicles, especially given that the Nissan GTR, for instance, is still all-wheel drive, so that doesn't seem entirely fair. That being said, both cars cope pretty well with being rear-wheel drive. Of course, the huge amount of downforce and grip that they have helps out a lot. The Impreza is, as I said, a little bit lighter. Not much, it's only 10 kilos difference, but lighter nonetheless. And so, overall, they're very well matched. Even as far as the lap times, you could definitely see that, just like with the road-going versions. Overall, then, they compare pretty well in practice. But what about as far as points goes? Well, as you lay out the numbers, as we usually do, and compare both vehicles, there are, of course, as with any of these rivalries on GT Sport, certain ways in which the cars just break even, such as the class, They're both Group 3, of course, and we don't know what the prices of either car are. So you could give neither of them a point, or you could do what I'm going to do and just give them both a point. Why not? Just do it for the fun of it. As far as engine capacity, we're not told what either of the cars are. You could surmise that they're probably based on the road-going engines, but because we don't know, I'm not going to give either car a point in that regard. As far as power, as I already said, they are the same. So interestingly, so far, these cars are perfectly matched. We don't know the price, they're both the same class, we don't know the engine, and the power are both 553. It's now, though, that we start to break off. When it comes to torque, the Evo is the better of the two, with 484 foot-pounds to 468 on the part of the Impreza, thereby giving the Evo the point. As far as weight, though, as we already said, the Impreza is 10 kilos less at 1241, giving that car the point. So, overall, the deciding factor is the horsepower per ton, and on this occasion, the fact that, of course, both have the same power, but the WRX is lighter, of course means that the Subaru has that advantage at 446 horsepower per ton, beating the Evo by just 4 horsepower per ton. So overall, the Subaru was the quicker of the two. At least with me driving, you probably get different results with different people, and as always, we're not awarding the lap times a point, but this is one of the very few occasions where the car that is the quicker of the two actually also wins on paper as well, because overall the Impreza gets 5 points to the Mitsubishi's 4. So it's interesting to see just how well matched both of these cars are, and they really are well matched against each other, and I have no doubt that there are plenty of people who are going to get straight on Gran Turismo Sport and want to drive cars like this as soon as possible. Mitsubishi fans, Subaru fans, of course, and totally honestly, I don't know whether or not those people are going to be entirely happy with these cars, for the reason that I mentioned earlier. Of course, all-wheel drive is not the be-all and end-all of racing, but the fact that both cars have all-wheel drive layouts as such a core value of their entire production run could mean that that may be an issue. So we'll have to see. But overall, it's a great match between the two, and on this occasion, the Impreza is our winner. But I'll see you guys next time for another Rivals match, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.